All right, let's jump into it. So, what were y'all thoughts about this month's town hall? We covered some noteworthy topics. I think we can unpack here.
It was a good amount of information, a lot of stuff that people are trying to find out, some big things in DOW, and people are really curious about how long it takes to get a tier 3 investigation.
Yeah,
And it's a big bottleneck. It is so much faster if you come in with a clearance, but that's just one of those things. Those stats are just always so crazy to me when they put that out there and they say how many people are in the ecosystem. I think, was it 542 see-through PAO candidates?
mm-hmm.
What are they doing? Like, are they not passing assessments? Are they in the FOCI review? I mean, that's more than 5x what we actually have as authorized see-through PAOs. And so I'm just very curious what the bottleneck is, because there's ways we can work on it. I don't know if anyone actually knows the answer, and they didn't pick my question to answer, so I don't know. But if anyone has any ideas, I'd be very curious what it is that's holding up so many candidates see-through PAOs. I thought it was the DIBCAC assessment, passing that, building your own bespoke system or buying a system that can work. I don't know, maybe it's something else.
Yeah,
maybe it's donating enough plasma to pay for the authorization fee. That takes a long time.
It's pretty expensive. I know when I was first looking into that, going that route, I thought just the application fee was the big part of it. And I got educated. Once you pass that DIBCAC assessment, now you have the big fee, the authorization fee. Kind of at that point, it's too late to turn back. I'm sure for most people, they got a lot of skin in the game at that point. Whew, yeah, it's expensive. Mm-mm.
One of the things that I did notice from the stats, as Zach was mentioning, is that we've seen sort of the taper of the RPOs. I think in the last month they increased by 1. But I think in recent months there's been a decrease versus an increase, and that's one area that doesn't really seem to be growing so much.
Yeah, and I wonder now that it's under ISOC. Well, is the RPO program's going to still stay with the Cyber B though, right?
Still Cyber.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to revamp it. I know that's something that Mike has been talking about, Mike Snyder, for quite some time, saying they're going to revamp the RP program, the RPO. And I know when I first started this journey 3 years ago, I took the RP first just because I didn't know any better. And that was such a waste of $500. Like, wow, $500, like a 4-hour self-paced course. It was so much just old information and typos. And I was like, man.
Yeah. So it sounds like it was actually the perfect introduction to the CMMC ecosystem. You learned a lot of important lessons out of that one. For me, it started 3 years ago. I had a client as a Google partner said, hey, we want to do CMMC. We're looking for people to help us out. We need to see through PAO. And I was like, see through PAO? That doesn't make sense. They do assessments. Why would they? Like, it means that they passed an assessment, so they actually know what they're talking about. In that moment, I'm so glad that I saw that email, because it was at that moment I realized, because it was the same at the time, the same price to go see through PAO or RPO route. So like, why would I be an RPO if I want to show people that actually know CMMC? So I still don't understand what the value is of an RPO or RP or RPA when the certification assessment side is pretty simple to get comparatively.
I mean, I think the rationale there is that when this really gets going, if it ever does, there's going to be so many assessments happening that the C3 PAOs will only be focused on doing assessments, right? But that has not been the case. And I'm not even sure when it will get to that point where, C3 PAOs will only be focused on doing assessments.
Well, I guess I can't see the value add from an RP or an RPO. When you look at what the expectation is for the CCP and the CCA, and all of the other more higher stacked members in the ecosystem, there's no expectation that they have any real background in networking or security. what do they got? They just got a checklist, to follow. I'm out there, full tilt with my customers, trying to work with them and help them understand the differences between and the nuances between these different rules and why you need to go this way rather than that way. That's putting a lot of burden and responsibility on the advisor, and you need to, as a organization seeking certification, it's going to determine how well you master the compliance and the security required for this particular body of knowledge. That's scary.
Yeah.
So I mean, one value that I've seen is it provides a high level introduction to sort of the program and to the framework. Not necessarily to folks whose tasks are implementing or even sort of advising, right? I've had sort of IT staff or even client as IT staff do the RP just to get that understanding of the program that is driving specific aspects of their jobs, right? So their job is not to implement CMMC; their job is to do IT, right? But the organization has a CMMC program, and I think that there is some value in understanding the drivers of what's impacting your specific role. And I sort of caveat that by saying that, I mean, all that information is also publicly available, right? You don't need to go through an IP, go through an RP program or, watch the RP videos to understand what CMMC is all about. But as a practitioner, I see very little value in sort of the, being an RP really.
Yeah, I think it'd be great if RP was kind of like what DAU just did, which I think is great. I'm excited to see those videos. The DAU produced Acropedia stuff. They do really great content. It'd be awesome if that was RP. It was free. You could do it. OSCs could do it. Everyone gets like just a little bit. Because what I recommend to OSCs now is that they spend the $2,000 to send someone to a CMMC bootcamp, which that's a fire hose. That's a lot. I mean, it's great because you won't make super basic rookie mistakes that we've seen huge companies make. But it would be good if there was like something in the middle that wasn't quite that. Yeah, I mean, you need to understand NIST 171, and if you don't get that from RP, then what's the point? You get it from CCP. I don't know. At least timeline wise, people that actually should be in this ecosystem. I know I'm a broken record. I talk about skill bridgers every time, and I probably always will. But we're seeing people get CCP within a month. We're getting CCA within a month after that. And then they're walking into, like, no joke, mid-20s people making 130, 150,000 a year W-2 remote job. Like, that's insane. And it's just, the tests aren't that hard. So I think, from a career, like, I want to get in the CMC ecosystem. I want to learn. I understand IT and cyber, and I'm like good at taking tests. It's a no-brainer to go become an assessor. It could take you just a couple of months, and then you have a six-figure job in the ecosystem, which I think is just really amazing. So yeah, make RP free RP. I'm going to make a sign and a t-shirt.
I like that. Absolutely. So a couple of updates. We see, was it Kirsten Davis, the new CIO of the Department of War? Are you familiar with her? You worked with her, Zach? You've heard her before?
I have not. I think she was an external appointee. Seems very qualified. I think the big story for our world is the fact that Katie Arrington's in industry. And what does that mean? And of course, I've, as Mark Twain would say, the rumor of CMMC's demise has been greatly exaggerated. Of course, as soon as that happened, people are like, is CMMC gone now? She's out. She's in industry. Does that mean CMMC's going away? It means it's going away, right? I don't think that's how it works. I mean, it's a nice try, but I think we've got a Title 32 and a Title 48 rule, but it does bring up a really interesting point about having a huge champion inside the Beltway for the program. And I haven't heard anything about if the new CIO is a big fan or not. But I think it will be super interesting because a little bit to the point made earlier. I mean, let's say there's 100 C3 PAOs, there's 200,000 200,000 organizations need it, which I think is less than what DOW estimates. I did a little bit of the math here. Every C3PA would have to do 10.2 assessments every business day between now and November 10th to get everyone certified. And even if you break it up where it's only a third a year, which the law does not say, right now everyone has to have it by November 10th, you're talking 3-ish assessments a day. That's unlikely to be achieved with 100 C3PAs. So obviously something is going to change. I just don't know what that is. I think the only levers that, without changing the Title 32 or Title 48 law, would just be guidance from somewhere like DAU to not put the certification requirement into contracts, just not drop that clause and keep it self-assessment. So I don't know what else DOW will do, but I'm curious if anyone knows how the math just doesn't math to me, if it works for anyone else.
What I'm seeing is that train has left the station. I'm seeing a lot of solicitations come out that is requiring folks to either already be certified or already have a certification audit scheduled. Like it's spelled out point blank. And unless there's a concerted effort to reel that back in, I think that that train is left.
Yeah.
Customers I'm working with they're definitely getting a push from their primes. They don't care what DOW says. If you want to play on the team, you better be certified.
Risk management, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're hearing that as well. It lowers the risk for a prime. I mean, can't blame them. It just puts it on the OSC. Then at the same time, I don't understand why we're not absolutely crushed by organizations looking for assessments. I mean, we're booked through March, but it's not crazy. Not. I mean, based on what you guys were saying, we should be getting 40 emails a day. Maybe our marketing just sucks, but I'm not. It doesn't seem like that. When is the crush going to happen? Is at this rate we'll have, I don't know, 2,000 organizations certified by November 10th. 100th of when is that happening?
That's going to be a bottleneck coming.
I think we've been saying that, right?
Yeah, part of the issue is we don't take 7012 to heart. 7012 calls out a self-assessment process to get you up to speed on to be ready for a level 2 certification. We've got a good start on the level 1 mock assessments. We need to throw more weight behind the level 2 self-assessment, which basically is the methodology in sheepskin.
Yeah, but 7012 is not a stick, right? It's been there, right?
No, it's not a stick, and it's failed as a stick, actually.
Right.
But now let's prevail on the minds of reason and say, hey, if you've practiced, you're going to be better. Maybe not perfect, but you're going to be better, and you're going to have more than 88, to at least get you past conditional, than be a false start.
Yeah. I was just speaking to a small defense contractor, really a one-person company, and they already have some smaller micro prime contracts, but they said they recently lost out on a contract opportunity through the Department of Navy because they couldn't demonstrate CMMC compliance. And now they're very motivated to get compliant. Hey, what can I do? And how long is it going to take? So it's really going to be more of those type stories, getting out amongst the defense industrial base, understanding, there are real repercussions to not being compliant. And to your point, William, I do agree that train's left the station. I don't see how they can kind of undo it, especially there are stories of organizations losing contracts because they were not CMMC compliant. And so a year from now to kind of backtrack and say, okay, never mind, we're going to kind of extend this deadline. I think that can cause other repercussions or legal issues.
Yeah. I mean, I heard that last week, and this OSC, it was two opportunities that they had that they had in the bag that they had lost out on.
Right.
Because so I mean that's actively happening.
Yeah, we've had a couple of those come in and say we need to be CMMC certified in a month, and I mean we've been able to make it happen, but it's pretty funny to see. So I think it'll keep happening, but I just don't know. The math still doesn't math to me, and I hope that I just am afraid of like a summer like apocalypse where okay, now we have like 750 assessors, hopefully have like 120 C3PAOs, and now suddenly 100,000 organizations realize that they need to be assessed, and then you're going to see people say like based on what I've seen in the market so far, where you sometimes have to sign an NDA to get pricing. I'm just afraid you'll hear companies say, well, if you want to get assessed in the next 3 months, it'll be an extra 100K. And I think it's going to happen. It's good. I mean, to some extent, like supply and demand, you could have seen this coming, but I am very curious to see how it happens. But again, what is it? 532 C3PAOs that could be lightening the load. I mean, if we had 642 C3PAOs and not 97, I mean, that math would math a little bit better. Like basically if we did that and we stretched it out for 3 years, I think you could get everyone assessed. It would take like 2-3 days per company. It may be pretty busy, but the math actually works at that point. Something will change. 10 months, we'll look back and be like, oh man, I can't believe we didn't see this coming. It's November 10th and blank, whatever it was. Either we have 2,000 companies certified out 200,000, or they changed the rules, or they got rid of CMMC. They're not getting rid of CMMC. Sorry. Don't want to get myself up there. But it'll be interesting.
Part of that challenge is that 200,000 number is looking at what primes and maybe first level subs. It's not even going beyond that, right?
Right.
So when we work with our clients, we have to go into their supply chain. For some of those folks, this is the first CMMC conversation they've ever had, like ever, right?
That's where it gets
there's
interesting.
there's a significant portion of the ecosystem for which this is still not on the radar. Still,
right? Yeah. What were some other good updates? Let's see. So there's a couple CTPOs that's pending. That's international. So was it Australia, South Korea,
Canada,
I believe. Yeah.
Taiwan. Do you think they'll? What do you think the tariffs are going to be on C3PAO assessments?
100%.
100%.
That is a good one. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see. We got to collect one way or another. So for Zach and any other CPOs on this call, have you had any any inquiries from outside the U.S. for certification assessments? You have? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we find any yet, but we're getting through the process with one from Japan right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And a couple of other stuff come up here and there. I think that I'm really excited to see C3PAOs in these other countries, because I think that for certainly a lot of cultures, it's going to be way more effective to have local C3PAOs that understand the language and the culture. I think I don't think it would be very easy to conduct an assessment in English if someone is not English speakers. And so we definitely would do it. But yeah, we've got a couple. We haven't booked any yet. I know there are some C3PAOs that are actively pursuing that and trying to get like 1099 agreements with assessors in different countries. And I think that's really smart. So maybe it's an American C3PAO, but they have someone local that they can use. That's not our model, but I think that's a great idea that can help bridge that gap. Yeah.
Cool.
What I was really surprised about is the low number of complaints. I'm starting to think that I might actually be all of the complaints at that point, based on how many people have complained about me. I'm like, really? You've only had 43 18? Complaints? I have to be at least 30 of those.
They stop tracking yours.
Yeah, maybe they just count them all as just one. But yeah, it's actually great. Like I really thought it would be a lot more. Although I don't know, maybe people aren't reporting. They just don't know that there's a mechanism to do it. I really thought it'd be a lot more. I thought it'd be a lot more like frivolous stuff. Because I've seen some of that. So that's good.
Well,
good luck to that whoever decided to file a complaint against the Department of War. Good luck with that one, whoever you are out there. Hope that works out for you. You are now officially on the no-fly list.
Unfortunately, no tier 3 for you.
You just failed continuous vetting.
I think it was only one, C3PO, as far as appeal from OSC. I think that's what I saw. It was a low number. That was surprising.
It was one. Yeah, one failed assessment appealed up to Cyber AB. We've never had an appeal. We have a couple of failures. We've never had an appeal, even to us, like to look at. So I think when, at least from what we've seen, when organizations fail, like it's pretty obvious why they failed. Like, oh, you didn't have an authorized user list. You failed 311A. Like, it's pretty hard to argue that one.
No coming back from that.
And it's the worst. Failing is the worst, especially when they led you to believe that they're ready. So at least for us, we've put a lot of time into aggressively looking at clients when they sign. Again, you can't consult, you can't give advice, you can't tell them if they're good or not, but just really like doing a lot more upfront of that initial diligence to make sure that this is a real thing. We've also had a lot of people like move their assessments on us because we don't charge a fee to reschedule. So we're starting to realize that some people take advantage of that. It's like every month they're like, actually, can we move it? Okay, you're not ready. There you go. So I'm starting to understand why some have changed fees, just because it is a huge pain. Again, we were talking earlier, once this alleged crush of C3PAOs or assessment requested, rescheduling an assessment is a huge loss for both organizations.
There's a lot of planning and project planning goes into that and scheduling for the C3POs. I was surprised. We had one of our clients, I might have did a bad job on discovery, but I didn't realize until after the kickoff that the client had already scheduled their C3PO assessment, but they didn't have a system in place. And it was like,
That's not uncommon. That's
like, what? I was so confused. Like, how did I miss that?
Not uncommon.
Yep. We get that all the time. In fact, a new C3PA reached out today and said, hey, we're assessing your client in April. We're like, what? They're not a client. I mean, we talked to them, but okay.
Yeah,
cool.
That was the first for me. Like, holy cow! All right, so we have some work to do. We need to move fast. Like, wow.
Yeah, it is funny. I mean, I don't know, of the millions of people that are certainly going to watch this recording, that are out there. My advice is pick your solution before you pay someone for an assessment, because C3POs are starting to be a little bit not more reasonable, like, but a lot of ones I've seen are, as they should, pricing it based on the complexity and the scope. If it's a really, really simple enclave, it might be $10K. If it's really super complicated, bespoke with 8 locations, it could be $100K or whatever it is. And so, get those quotes, especially for those that do offer. If you're going with a service that has an MSP that has a lot of the requirements covered for you, you may get a way, way, way cheaper price from a different C3PAO that's seen it before.
Yeah,
we've assessed a couple of MSPs, and we've been some very impressed with, some very unimpressed with, but generally, it is reduced burden. It makes it a lot easier. I think you'll start to see, and again, it's one of the ways. I think the only way that the maths is if you have a number of these MSPs that are either certified or FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent that can, do an X number of it. Because if everyone builds a bespoke system and it takes 3 to 5 days to assess, like, we're just never going to be able to get it done. Just pick something that is at least partially taken care of by someone else, and so you can focus on customer responsibility. That should make things a lot faster and cheaper for you.
Yeah. So speaking of FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent, what was that experience like?
Oh man, that sucked.
That sucked. Yeah. Worse than CMMC level 2. It was a lot worse.
I would say so. Yes. In September, we were informed by DIBCAC that we were a cloud service provider, much to the surprise of us and probably the shock of the 5 C3PAOs that certified our clients and determined that we were not a cloud provider. But it is what it is, and we decided that we would be in a much better spot to be FedRAMP, and we're going to do it anyway. Eventually, it's just a kick we needed. So we it was rough. It was rough fourth quarter, but we were able to get it. And then at least for us, having a candidate C3PAO go through a DIPCAC assessment was kind of the final blessing, because they can't do the assessment if you're not FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent. It has brought up some really interesting philosophical questions, like who says you're FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent? So we got DIPCAC to say that because we had a candidate C3PAO, but if you don't have that, how do you get that? Do you just do it yourself? If you read the memo, it's really interesting. It suggests that the OSC itself is the one that validates the body of evidence. Good luck with that, right? Even C3PAOs, we're not trained. That's not part of your CCA training, is to evaluate a NIST 853 body of evidence. I'm saying this because it's feedback I gave to DIPCAC. Someone in the Department of War needs to be the arbiter for this is who is FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent, at least. Because otherwise, my concern is that as time goes on and you get more of these solutions that are trying to go for the process, you'll have ones that really aren't at all, but say that they are. And it's going to end up being a problem when someone, again, I'm not saying it'll be intentional, but just it's hard. It's really hard to have no poems in FedRAMP. It would be easier to get FedRAMP Moderate. It's a lot and it's expensive. And I don't think a lot of organizations are going to do it. I don't think a lot of MSPs are going to be in a position to do it if they process or transmit CUI, and I think they'll just walk away. So that's the first one. The other one that's interesting is more philosophical conversation is it really worth it? Is CUI really better protected under FedRAMP Moderate than it was under CMMC Level 2?
So to that point, what's the real difference? To me, the real difference between FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent and FedRAMP Moderate is that you basically have a federal agency who has said, we're okay with you and we'll give you authorization to operate.
In FedRAMP Moderate,
and if
you can
that doesn't happen, that means, in FedRAMP Moderate, you can actually have poems, but in FedRAMP Equivalent, you can't. And then that puts the burden or the risk of accepting that FedRAMP Moderate Equivalency, not on the ecosystem, but more on the person who's trying to leverage that to secure their information. Does that make sense?
You mean on the customer?
Yeah, on the OSC.
Yeah, it does. It's insane to think that someone would be able to evaluate that. And I think, I think there'll be a reckoning. There'll be a reckoning in the marketplace because it does seem that if you are processing, storing, transmitting CUI in a multi-tenant environment, you need FedRAMP Moderate. With that, I think it's going to be very, very challenging. I just don't know how much safer CUI is now. I know that we're greatly increasing our prices because we have at least one FTE that we have to get to just do continuous monitoring. Okay, wow. Maybe it's worth it, maybe not. Okay, we had to change registrars to find one that supports DNSSEC. Great. I'm sure foiled China there. We're using DNSSEC extensions. I don't know. It's good, but I think CMMC Level 2 is good enough. It's good enough if you're self-hosting in the same cloud. And that's the part that I never really understood. If I'm an OSC and I'm running this super complicated thing for myself in a cloud, I just have to meet CMMC requirements. But the second that you let someone else access it from another organization, you have to be FedRAMP Moderate? What changed? I don't really understand.
Using as well.
But fortunately, we have an external services subcommittee that I'm sure is diligently working to come up with very clear answers to all of this.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, that's my question. When it comes to, I guess saying the prices, depending on the solution, how do you think that's going to play into where you got people like ATX, who have your solution, FedRAMP Moderate? And that's kind of what you guys were talking about. But did you guys really dive into what's going to happen when the C3PAO is like, okay, this really literally doesn't take that long, and this is my price? The fact that it's not clear, what are your thoughts on that, and how do you think it may end up if somebody's way too low?
I'm not totally sure I know what you're asking. You mean the impact it has on a C3PAO that's having to do these assessments on alleged FedRAMP Moderate Equivalent CSPs?
Yeah. So the future, I think, more of CSPs are going to end up slowly, getting with their FedRAMP, equivalent all the way. And there's this thing about out there saying you can't be too low, but you can't be too high. So
Okay.
I'm like,
Yeah.
how does that really make sense when it's going to be proven, stuff that through shared responsibility that you don't have to, spend 2 years doing one assessment. So,
Well, you're saying if someone charges like 10K for an assessment,
yeah, like,
it's lowballing. I mean, I think
is it?
no. I mean, I think there's definitions to this stuff. But I'm sure one of the 10 ESP complaints that they mentioned is when someone complained on us for price fixing because we publicly posted our prices. Like, there's literally a definition of price fixing, like on websites. You can look it up, and it's not that. Posting your prices is not price fixing. It's just applying pressure to people who want to keep their prices secret and make you sign an NDA and makes it uncomfortable for them when you can see that your competitor is charging half as much as you are. That's not price fixing. So I think there's a definition of gouging, lowballing, whatever that's called. Unfortunately, probably get adjudicated in the legal system. But I think the idea is that if you're deceptively charging a low price to get people hooked in and you're not profitable and you have some kind of ulterior motive, then yeah, I mean, you shouldn't be doing that. If an assessment takes you 2 hours because the MSP you're assessing takes care of 95% of the responsibilities, you're charging them for 2 hours of work, maybe, or whatever it is. I mean, it would be price gouging if you charge $50,000 to do that, and you're making $25,000 an hour.
Yeah.
Just
That's why
exaggerating the numbers.
That's why I understand why it's so difficult. Maybe they should just, relook at it, because when you do the pre-assessment form or the results form, you're using minutes per control anywhere in objective. So maybe the simple way would be to calculate that row for pricing instead of over complicating everything.
Yeah, some do.
Yeah.
Again, it's just one of those things, caveat emptor. No joke, I've had clients giving me, they've told me how much they paid for assessments for the same system, and they are 3x off, like from low to high, for the same certificate that goes in the same place in the same system of record.
Mm-hmm.
And so it really is incumbent on the OSC to do it. And that's why I get so annoyed when C3PAOs sometimes don't share their pricing without NDAs, because the whole point of doing that is to prevent these organizations from knowing what the true prices are and from having artificially high prices. And that, I feel like that should be a code of conduct violation. But unfortunately, that's not. It's one of those ones that's just kind of like borderline. That's not really an issue. It's just kind of a mean move more than anything. So
I think that's a very slippery slope for the cyber AB to wade into, with private sector companies, the CPOs or consultants, to say, all right, this is too low or this is too high. That's why Matt said that's usually the first follow-up question he gets when people say, okay, what's the baseline? What are we determining is the average price or the accepted price? Yeah, that's a very slippery slope for them to try to dictate that to private sector companies.
it's a tough balancing act. Yeah, I know as much grief. Cyber AB is just it's so funny. Like all the complaints and comments and stuff. It's T3 is slow. This is bad. This sucks. Everything sucks. It's just there's just not that much that they can do. Like they're just trying to make everyone happy, and it's an impossible task. I don't know how they do it without graying. Matt is not grayed as much as I would have in that job in a couple of years.
I can't imagine. Anyone attending CS5 in San Diego? I plan on attending this year. This will be my first one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't plan to attend there, but I am going to that Virtue.
Okay, that's true.
So I expect to see you there.
Yeah, look forward to connecting with you there. Alex, you'll be there as well, the Virtue conference? Or no? Yeah, that one's later this month. Right?
Yeah, I'll try to make that one.
Other than that, so CS5, then we will be into this February. We had to reschedule our summit, and this we're going to have a Dallas, basically ISD high school summit for CMMC. It would have been today. Zach and Alex, Austin have been there as well. All Christian also. But we'll be doing it February 27th now, so that's going to be on a Friday. hopefully no ice storms happens that week. So we can make
gosh. Yeah, I hope not. That's another philosophical question I know we've discussed a bit, Derrich, is just what is the right audience for like getting involved in the CMMC community? Because I would bet some people that say taking these 24-year-old skill bridgers and getting them CCA is just crazy. They need to be much older and more experienced. And the reality is they've been doing this stuff for 4 years anyway, on active duty. But if you take it back a bit, because we have a great community college in Austin, and they really do a great job of working to upskill the community. I thought a lot, like it'd be amazing if they had CCP, CCA courses and did that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know I was curious what people's thoughts are about familiarity with CMMC, just to understand that just be exposed to a new industry and a really high growth industry. What's that right point to get involved and actually go down that path of being a RP or a CCP or an assessor? I mean, the minimums are really, really low, but I guess,
right.
Should someone, I guess, they graduate high school, they worked at, Best Buy and did Geek Squad. So they've got all the experience and they pass plus, so they can be a CCA when they're like 19. Like, do we want that? I don't know.
Yeah, like I said, it's a good philosophical question.
Yeah.
And I think for me, the way I approach it, and what the high school students I've been working with, they are dual enrolled. So those high school students are already enrolled in college courses. So by the time they graduate high school, they'll have their associate's degree in networking and programming or whatever that may be. So they would meet at least that minimum requirement, which for CCP there really are no hard requirements for taking that training and taking your exam. It's recommended. They recommend 2 years experience or a college degree, a 2-year degree. So I look at it as really an opportunity that lowers the barrier for those individuals who they're going to need to be ambitious and they're going to need to be pretty much high speed. But I'm just I'm from the camp that I don't believe that they need to have 4, 6, 8 years of hands-on experience of having worked in those fields. Kind of approaching like the military. They take someone straight out of high school and train them within a year, 2 years, or an officer. But it really can accelerate that learning path for service members, and they don't have those hard coded requirements for like age or degree, at least on the listed side. So really I think that CMMC really is not an exception if they have the right exposure, the right training, and just the access. I think the cream of the crop will rise to the top, and they will be able, I think, to be successful, at least at that entry level consultant role with CCP. CCA is a different story. I do agree with those experience requirements, but for CCP, and especially we were talking earlier in the context of RP and RPO and like consulting, I think if they've demonstrated they can graduate high school with a associate's, that's a good test that they may have what it takes to be a good consultant.
I can do that. Yeah, no, I guess that's my question.
Shouldn't there be
I think that's awesome.
Body of knowledge?
Sorry, Mike, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Shouldn't there be a certain body of knowledge that they have? I mean, I look at the 8140 at least at a trial run at what kind of skills should you have? If you're going to be you want somebody, somebody who doesn't say, if you say, well, I have to have a network diagram, and they say, first question out of their mouth, what's a network diagram? What does it look like? Just there are certain basics that they've got to understand, because those are things that you're basically, even if you're not assessing, you're advising somebody on what it should look like and what are the minimums that it has to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you get to that point?
Yeah, I agree. They should have a certain body.
I'm talking about degrees. I'm talking about like, some sort of certification or some sort of test, and being able to explain things. You're first and foremost a salesperson for your use case. Why should you take Mike's use case over Derrick's use case? What's the difference?
No, I think it all depends on the expectation, right? Like, I don't bring entry level folks into my company and then tell them to go and advise my clients, right? They're working as part of a team under supervision, right? So I think them coming to the table with certain foundational understanding of the work, there's value there, right? So I don't think the expectation here is that a high school student will get a CCP and automatically go out in the field and start advising OSCs on how to get certified. I think there is a role for entry level or junior level professionals to work under the supervision of somewhere more senior. That's where the growth and experience happens.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
And as an approved training provider, we're approaching it almost like a trade. And especially for Gen Z, trade schools are on the rise. A lot of them are choosing trade schools over 4-year degrees. If you think about someone going into a trade, become a plumber, electrician, any of those type of trades, mechanic, I don't think those have to necessarily have a higher aptitude than being a CMMC consultant. So to give those high school graduates, and in this case, the type of the category of graduate I'm talking about, they are college graduates at that point. They have an associate's degree as well. Yeah, to give them that opportunity with a CCP pathway. Yeah, I think it's an incredible opportunity for them, and I champion that. Although I know there are, and it really just depends on what camp you're in. And I know there are more cybersecurity purists who will say, okay, no, they need to have X number of years experience or so many different criteria they need to meet, qualifications beyond their associate's degree. I understand that too. But yeah, I'm looking at it as more of CCP being more of almost a trade.
Yeah, that train has also left, right? There are there are a lot of school districts right now that at the high school level are offering students the opportunity to get professional level certifications, right? A plus, Never plus, Security plus.
Security plus, you got many in high school got Security plus.
100 of professional level certifications in all kinds of trades, right? So the opportunities are out there, and I think that the sooner they get started, the better prepared they are to enter the workforce and be trained, right, to sort of perform the work, right? So if you come to the table, you might not have the hands-on experience and knowledge, but you understand what the work is, and you are prepared to learn versus coming in and asking what it is and never done, right? You might not have created one, but if you know what it is, we can get you to create one pretty quickly.
Yeah, agreed.
There's an organization I work with called Cybersecurity Workforce Alliance, and they have a technology component called IQ4. They've developed what they call their learning and employment record, and it allows you to identify what the person's background is and build career paths along with that, so that if you want to become somebody that's skilled in database, there are certain steps that you go through. Not formal education necessarily, but more in an apprenticeship type of role. And I've seen that work pretty successfully for veterans coming out of the military that wanted to get into cyber, where there's a mentoring component, there's a coaching component, there's the effort to try to build bonds between the coach / mentor and the student, and so that they become trusting and really come out a lot better, I think, in terms of a person that you'd like to have on your team.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we close out, I want to get y'all feedback on the CMMC frequently asked questions, that updated version that came out. They touched on a couple of them, but the paper CUI and not requiring a level 2 certification. What are your thoughts on that?
I don't understand the confusion. Like, someone had asked, well, but why do we have media protection if paper CUIs? It's a totally different topic. Like, if you have an information system, you have media protection requirements. If you're printing CUI, and there are company OSCs that just get paper from the government, they get from primes, they don't have an IT system. That's what they're talking about. This is not that hard. Like, we're not talking about, oh, we don't need media protection because, like, yes, you have an information technology system is literally what CMMC is for. What we're saying is, if all you get is paper, you don't have, and you don't have an IT system that processes it, then you don't have to meet CMMC level 2 requirements. And that actually, it sounds crazy, but it actually makes a lot of sense, I think. So it was just interesting. I mean, I can't do that many, or maybe there are. It just doesn't seem like there's that many organizations that only get
today, today. I mean, that's
form.
hard to see, right?
Yeah.
But I think that's what it's about. But there's all kinds of, it's like one of those thought experiments. Like, if a CUI tree falls in the forest, doesn't make a sound. And that's a good example of one. And it's a tricky one. I mean, as an assessor, when I first saw that, because I think it came out in Army Corps of Engineers webinar, and they said, yeah, if you have paper CUI, you don't need CMMC. And people were like, what? That's crazy. Army's so silly. And then I think when people started really, digging it through, it just goes to show you how open to interpretation certain things are and just how nuanced it is. And that's why I always say, again, I think that's why I love about these like mid-20s CCAs that we're cranking out getting 6-figure jobs. They're not bound by that poison of, well, back in my day when I was assessing Windows 98, this is how we did it. And if you don't do it that way, you're wrong. And unfortunately, there's a lot of, experts in CMMC that has to be a certain way. And that's just not how it works in CMMC. And I can assure you that that's not the right way to think about it for the future. It was a cool one. I was on, when I first saw that, I thought paper, that doesn't make any sense. Why wouldn't you need CMMC? And then I realized, those are really compelling arguments. I'm sure there's lots of other stuff out there like that.
Yeah, agreed. Good analysis. Well, all right. Well, thank you all for joining this, our first one of the year. We all know I sent you the invite yesterday, so thank you for making time to join. But we'll aim to do these every month following the town hall. I won't be late on the wrong link for next month. I'll get that straightened out. But appreciate y'all's patience. I'll post this on our YouTube channel, and we'll come back next month and share insights. So y'all have a good evening. Thank you.
Night, everybody.
Yeah. Great discussion. Thanks, guys.